What if 2026 isn't just another year, but a script already written?
Did The Simpsons really predict the future? It shows Donald Trump touching a glowing orb with two Middle Eastern-looking men.
For decades, The Simpsons has turned cartoon jokes into real-world headlines.
We need Greenland for national security. We have to have it.
They mocked a billionaire president. Then we elected one. They predicted a pandemic before COVID hit our streets. It's funny, until it's not. Because the predictions for 2026, they're darker than ever. You won't believe what The Simpsons just predicted for 2026. Number 8, AI takeover. There's a Simpsons episode where Mr. Burns fires almost every worker in the power plant and replaces them with robots. At first, the robots look smarter, cheaper, and more loyal.
Yeah. Save your breath.
We have no breath.
Then they turn on him.
Kill me, jerks!
Kill him. Kill him.
And the same workers he threw away have to save the day. That story from the episode Them Robot is a chilling hint about the real world. Right now, artificial intelligence is not just a cartoon idea. It is writing school essays, doing office reports, talking in customer service chats, and even helping doctors look at scans.
Chatbot that generates writing. It's called ChatGPT.
A major study reported last year warned that AI and machines could wipe out tens of millions of jobs in the United States over the next 10 years, across both office work and manual work. That sounds a lot like Springfield, where the humans are suddenly told they are not needed anymore.
These are robots. You will train them, and they will replace you.
In 2026, many people may not be replaced outright, but they may feel something even stranger. They may feel that a hidden system is sitting above them, quietly deciding what happens in their life. AI tools are already helping bosses choose who gets hired, who gets promoted, and who gets fired. Banks test AI systems to judge who gets a loan. Hospitals and clinics use smart software to flag which patients are high risk and who can wait. The danger is not just lost jobs, it is lost control. When a boss makes a bad choice, at least you know who did it. When a machine does it, the answer is often, the computer says no, and we do not know why. That is the kind of quiet power The Simpsons warned about, even if they showed it with goofy robots and slapstick jokes.
We'll be safely cornered in this glass room with one door.
The show has gone even darker than Them Robot. In the Ultra House 3000 story, the family moves into a smart home that cooks, cleans, and talks. The house listens to everything, learns their habits, falls in love with Marge, and then tries to kill Homer and take his place. Helpful assistant and ends up trying to run the whole family. That is the same fear many people now feel about AI in their phones, cameras, and smart devices. And then there is war. In real life, the line between human and machine on the battlefield is already fading. Reports from Ukraine say long-range drones guided by AI can find and hit targets with very little human help. Other reports say AI systems picked targets for airstrikes in places like Syria and Yemen and helped label tens of thousands of people as suspected fighters in Gaza. A new United Nations vote in late 2024 showed that most countries are worried about killer robots and want new rules, while a few powerful states still push ahead. Leaders keep holding big meetings to talk about AI safety, like the first global summit in England at Bletchley Park, where many countries signed a statement saying this technology needs control. The Simpsons showed robots taking over a power plant. In 2026, they might be making decisions about your health, your money, and your freedom, with no human in the room. Number 7, climate catastrophes. Bart once pulled a strange, three-eyed fish out of the dirty river next to the nuclear plant in Springfield. The town called it Blinky and laughed, but the point was clear. The water was so polluted that even the fish were changing, and the rich boss of the plant cared more about his own image than the damage in front of him. Years later, there was the story called Hurricane Nettie. A wild storm hit Springfield, tore up the town, and somehow left most houses standing while Ned Flanders lost almost everything. One freak storm picked one family and ruined their life in a single night. It was played as dark comedy, but it looks a lot like real life now. Out here, the heat is not a joke anymore. The main weather office of the United Nations says the year 2024 was the hottest since records began in the 1800s. The years from 2015 to 2025 are the 11 warmest years on record. The last 3 years, from 2023 to 2025, form a streak of record heat that many experts now treat as a serious warning, not a one-time spike. When the air gets hotter, the disasters get louder.
The Earth system retains more heat that comes in from the sun than it releases back to space. So this is a massive imbalance.
A review of climate events in the year 2023 counted around 240 major storms, floods, and other climate disasters around the world. In that same year, at least 12,000 people died in climate-related disasters. Many more lost their homes and their jobs and fell into hunger as fields and towns were washed away or burned. The hit is very clear in rich countries as well. In the United States, the National Climate Office counted 28 huge weather disasters in the year 2023, each one causing at least $1 billion in damage. The following year, 2024, had more than 20 such billion-dollar hits again. Long droughts, huge fires, giant hail, and slow-moving floods now show up almost every season somewhere on the map. Then comes the slow disaster: insurance. Because of constant fires, floods, and storms, some large home insurance companies have started to pull back from risky places like parts of California and Florida. Several of the biggest firms in California have stopped taking new customers or have sharply cut back on coverage, saying the risk is now too high. In Florida, long rows of houses sit in zones where storms are getting stronger and seas are creeping higher, while costs to insure those houses keep rising. Number 6. Space tourism. There is a scene in The Simpsons where an animated version of Richard Branson is just floating in a clean white spaceship, relaxed, admiring a painting on the wall. It looks silly and light. Then, in the year 2021, the real Branson climbed into his own Virgin Galactic rocket plane, flew to the edge of space, and filmed himself drifting in zero gravity in a cabin that looked shockingly close to the cartoon one. Fans put screenshots side by side, same billionaire, same pose, same kind of cabin. The match was so strong that even his own airline and space brand joined in the joke online, posting that yes, the show seemed to have called it years earlier. After those first joyrides, the rush to turn space into a playground moved very fast. Blue Origin began flying short trips that shoot almost straight up and then fall back down, giving paying guests a few minutes above the line that many scientists use as the start of space and a brief taste of weightlessness. Around the same time, SpaceX sent 4 private citizens all the way around the planet on a trip called Inspiration 4, the first orbital flight made up only of people who were not career government astronauts. A Blue Origin launch in January of the year 2026 carried 6 more tourists above the sky in one flight and pushed the company close to 100 people sent to space since its first crew launch in the year 2021. Virgin Galactic has flown its own series of trips and plans to sell seats for around $600,000 each to customers who want only a few minutes of view and a story no plane can match. This is where the warning hidden inside the joke starts to show. In Springfield, trips to space usually end in chaos, with alarms, loose parts, and clueless crews. In real life, the rockets are far more serious, but they are still built and flown by private firms that feel pressure to move fast, stay in the news, and keep rich clients happy. One stuck valve, one tiny crack in a tank, or one rushed countdown is all it would take to turn a fun 11-minute ride into a mass casualty story that nobody can laugh at. There is also a cost you cannot see from the cabin window. Every launch burns a huge load of fuel and throws soot and strange metal dust high into the upper air, far above normal planes. Studies over the last few years have found that soot from rockets can trap heat hundreds of times more strongly than soot from jets and can slowly thin the ozone layer that protects the planet from harsh sunlight. As launch numbers climb into the hundreds each year, scientists now warn that unchecked space tourism could delay the healing of that layer and add extra warming at the same time.
We're looking into a picture going around online this month. It claims to show a screenshot of a 2002 episode of The Simpsons that eerily mirrors real-life events.
Before we move on, here's today's subscriber's pick. In The Simpsons episode, The Mook, the Chef, the Wife, and Her Homer, Fat Tony is suddenly taken out by a rival family, and Springfield spirals into an all-out Mafia showdown. A power vacuum opens up, nervous officials scramble to keep control, and regular people are trapped while the mob quietly settles scores in the background. Now jump to real life in 2026, and Mexico is living through a far darker version of that plot. Nemesio El Mencho Oseguera Cervantes, leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel and one of the world's most wanted criminals, was killed on February 22nd during a military raid in his home state of Jalisco. Within hours, cartel gunmen were torching vehicles, blocking major roads, and attacking soldiers across multiple states, leaving dozens dead and entire cities too terrified to step outside. At this point, does it still feel like a coincidence? Or did The Simpsons see this chaos coming years ago? Let us know what you think in the comments. Number 5. Pandemics and Biohazards 2.0. Back in an early story, a strange flu hits Springfield. It comes from Osaka in Japan, hidden inside boxes of shiny new juicers. People start coughing, the whole town falls sick, and the streets turn to chaos. That episode is called Marge in Chains, and fans now point to it as the Osaka flu story. The way it spreads is very simple. A worker in a faraway factory coughs into a box, the box goes on a ship, and weeks later, the virus reaches every home in Springfield. No warning, no border can stop it. In one scene, the crowd begs the doctor for a quick cure. He tells them it will take time, but they refuse to wait. They smash a crate they think holds medicine, and instead release a swarm of killer bees into the town. That mix of panic, false hope, and bad choices looked like a joke in the early 1990s. It looked much less funny during the real COVID years, when a virus moved from city to city on planes and ships, and people grabbed at any magic cure someone posted online. Health experts had to fight fake news, fake drugs, and protests, not only the virus itself. In the year 2026, the danger has not gone away. In the year 2024 alone, a United Nations report counted at least 17 outbreaks of very dangerous diseases, including Marburg, Mpox, and new forms of bird flu. A global board that tracks these threats warned that the risk of new pandemics is getting higher, pushed by things like climate change, war, crowded cities, and fast travel. Their message was blunt. The world is still not ready for the next big one. One of the scariest front lines right now is bird flu, the H5N1 virus. It used to mostly kill birds. Now it is turning up in many more animals. A study in the year 2025 found almost 1,500 cases of this virus in wild and farm mammals across more than 40 species, from sea lions to foxes. In late 2025, it even showed up in seals on a remote island near Antarctica, and by early 2026, it had reached penguins there too. When a virus reaches the most remote place on Earth, nowhere is safe. So far, the World Health Organization and its partners say the risk to most people from this bird flu is still low. Human cases are rare, and there is no clear sign of easy spread from person to person. But they also stress that the virus is changing, and that workers who handle birds and sick animals face a higher risk. Bird flu is not the only worry. In Brazil, scientists recently found a new bat coronavirus that looks very close to the virus that causes MERS, a lung disease that kills about 1/3 of the people it infects. Early tests suggest this new bat virus might be able to use the same doorway into human cells. That is a warning sign that researchers are taking very seriously. Because of all this, the World Health Organization updated its list of high-risk virus families in the year 2024. They also kept a placeholder on that list with a simple name, Disease X. That name stands for a future virus we do not know yet, one that could spread fast and hit hard. Number 4. Global conflict. The Simpsons has been making dark jokes about World War since the very early days. In one short clip from the 1980s, Homer wakes the whole family in the middle of the night, yelling that World War III has started, and drags them into a fallout shelter to test how ready they are. It is loud, silly, and at the same time, very close to the fear people had during the old nuclear standoff. Years later, there is the story called Simpson Tide. Homer joins the Navy and ends up on a nuclear submarine. During a drill, he fires the captain out of a torpedo tube by mistake and takes the sub into Russian waters. On TV, a Russian official proudly says the Soviet Union never really fell. The Berlin Wall rises from the ground, soldiers roll through the streets, and even Lenin climbs out of his tomb. The world stands one step away from a nuclear clash until the navies back down. In another scene, a fake government film reveals a plan called Secret Nuclear Defense Plan, U.S. Government. It shows Springfield marked as a nuclear whipping boy. If war breaks out, friendly nations will first fire their missiles at the town, just to check that their aim is correct. It is a quick joke, but the message is sharp. When big powers fight, small places are the first to burn. Now look at the real-world map in the year 2026. In Europe, full war has been raging in Ukraine for 4 years. Aid groups and study centers now say that the total number of dead and wounded soldiers on both sides may already be between 1,800,000 and 2 million. United Nations teams say that in the single year of 2025, at least 2,500 civilians were killed in Ukraine and more than 12,000 were hurt, a clear rise compared with the 2 years before. Millions of people have been pushed out of their homes, either inside Ukraine or into other countries, and there is still no clear end in sight. While that war grinds on, many other places are heating up. Around Taiwan, Chinese forces have been running larger and larger sea and air drills. The Justice Mission 2025 exercises looked like a full practice for a blockade, with warships and planes circling the island and rehearsing how to cut off its main ports. In the South China Sea, Chinese and Philippine ships keep facing off around reefs and small islands, with water cannons, blocked paths, and near crashes between Coast Guard and Navy boats. In the Middle East, a short but fierce war between Israel and Iran in mid-2025 shook the region and left behind only a very thin pause in the fighting. The Gaza war and strikes by armed groups linked to Iran have already pulled in Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. By early 2026, the United States is pulling some staff out of its embassy in Beirut and warning that any direct clash with Iran could spark a much wider fire across the whole area. At the same time, the world is pouring more money into weapons than ever. A major study from Stockholm says global military spending reached about $2.7 trillion in the year 2024. That was the 10th year in a row of growth and the sharpest single jump since the end of the Cold War, with big rises in Europe and the Middle East. Number 3, crypto, digital cash, and the end of paper money. There is a Simpsons story where Professor Frink gets tired of being a lonely nerd and decides to fix his life with math. He creates his own digital coin, Frink Coin, and in a short time becomes the richest man in Springfield. Mr. Burns, the old-school cash king, suddenly has competition from a line of code. In that same episode, actor Jim Parsons shows up in an animated clip to explain how these coins work and even calls them the cash of the future. At the time, it looked like a fun lesson. Now, standing in the year 2026, it feels more like a warning label taped on our own wallets. The show did not stop there. In a later season, a fake stock ticker flashes on screen with the price of Bitcoin shooting to infinity, while other prices jump and crash all over the place. It was a joke about wild trading, but it nailed the feeling of the crypto boom and crash years when people around the world watched digital coins make and wipe out life savings in a few months. While Springfield plays with Frink Coin, the real world is racing toward money you cannot hold. A major payment study says that by around the middle of this decade, about 60% of all people on Earth are expected to use some kind of digital wallet on their phone. Another report found that in the last year, around 9 out of 10 adults in both the United States and Europe use some form of digital payment, whether in an app, on a website, or by tapping their phone in a shop. The total amount of money moved through digital payments is now huge. New research says people spent close to $50 trillion through digital methods in the year 2024, and that number could climb to around $70 trillion by the year 2029. In India alone, one simple phone system, UPI, now handles almost half of all real-time payments on the planet. At the same time, cash is quietly shrinking. In the United Kingdom, cash fell to about 9% of all payments in the year 2024, the first time it dropped below 10%. Many people swipe cards or phones all day and may go weeks without touching a single paper note. Governments have seen this shift and do not want to lose control. China has been running the world's biggest test of a central bank digital money, the digital yuan. By late 2025, it had handled more than 3.5 billion payments worth over $2 trillion, even though that is still a small share compared with private apps like WeChat Pay and Alipay. Europe is pushing ahead with its own digital euro, with the European Central Bank moving from study to building and planning test runs with banks before the end of this decade. Not every country's digital cash plan is working. Nigeria's Naira, one of the first projects of this kind in Africa, still makes up less than 1% of all money in circulation even after several years. Many people simply did not trust it and protested when cash in the country became hard to find. Number 2, political instability. In one future story, the show jumps ahead to a grown-up world where Lisa is president. She sits in the Oval Office and says, "We inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump." When that line first aired in the year 2000, it sounded like pure nonsense. A flashy real estate star and TV boss running the country felt like a crazy joke, nothing more. Then, real life caught up. Donald Trump won the White House in the year 2016. Old clips from that same episode, Bart to the Future, started to spread like wildfire. The writer later said the Trump joke was meant as a warning, a sign of a country going off the rails, not some dream they wanted to see come true. But the story did not stop there. In the year 2024 race, Trump came back and won again, after Joe Biden dropped out and Kamala Harris took the ticket and lost. That same old scene with President Lisa cleaning up after Trump went viral all over again. Even Harris's purple suit at her swearing in as vice president had already shown up years earlier on Lisa in that future episode, right down to the pearls. The show has also linked politics to street chaos. When real-world crowds stormed the United States Capitol in early 2021, trying to stop the vote count, fans rushed online to share shots from older episodes that showed the Capitol in flames and mobs outside. Some of those pictures were edited or taken out of context, but the mood was the same. For years, the cartoon has treated angry crowds, wild leaders, and broken rules as normal parts of public life. Outside the bright colors of Springfield, the pattern is not funny at all. Groups that watch freedom say the world has been sliding for a long time. In the year 2024, a major study found that scores for basic rights got worse in 60 countries and improved in only 34. That year marked the 19th year in a row where more countries moved backward than forward, and those drops affected more than 40% of all people on Earth. Another report in the year 2025 looked at almost every country on the map and found that 94 of them had slipped in at least one key part of democracy over the past 5 years. These parts included fair elections, equal justice, freedom to speak, and freedom of the press. The same report said press freedom had fallen to its weakest level since the mid-1970s. When news gets softer and leaders face less pressure, it becomes much easier for them to twist the rules, stay longer, and punish critics. People are not taking that quietly. A protest tracker run by a large research group counted more than 160 major anti-government protests in the year 2024 alone, many of them driven by anger over votes, court rulings, or claims of rigged results. At the same time, big risk reports used by insurance and business leaders now list coups, unrest, and political street violence as rising threats. Several countries, especially in parts of Africa, have seen repeated military takeovers since the early 2020s, each one pushing normal elections further away and leaving people stuck under men with guns instead of leaders they chose. Standing in the year 2026, the world map starts to feel a lot like Springfield on one of its bad days. Leaders fight, trust drops, and crowds fill the streets because they no longer believe the game is fair. Number 1. Disney, mega mergers, and the death of old school TV. There's a quick joke in one Simpsons episode that almost feels like a throwaway. The camera shows the front gate of the Fox movie studio, and the sign says 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Co. It aired back in the late 1990s as a small jab at big media companies eating each other. Years later, that joke turned real. In the year 2019, Disney finished a huge deal worth more than $71 billion to buy most of 21st Century Fox, including the movie studio, the TV studio, National Geographic, FX, and a big chunk of Hulu. That move did something wild. It put The Simpsons itself under Disney's roof, along with Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, and a long list of other giant names. One cartoon gag about Disney owning Fox turned into a real-world map where one company holds almost every big franchise people grew up with. Commentators at the time said this deal would give Disney an unprecedented collection of content and help it push straight into online streaming instead of living off old cable money. While that was happening at the top, something else was changing in people's living rooms. More and more families simply stopped paying for cable. In the United States, the number of homes that cut the cord more than doubled in just a few years, from about 37 million in the year 2018 to a projected 77 million by the year 2025. In the same stretch, classic cable homes fell from around 90 million to about 69 million. By the middle of this decade, streaming is no longer the side dish. A survey in the year 2025 found that about 83% of adults in the United States use streaming services like Netflix and Prime Video, while only about 36% still pay for cable or satellite at home. The old model of flipping through channels at set times is slowly being replaced by apps and on-demand shows that people watch whenever they want. Disney has leaned into this new world hard. After the Fox deal, it took full control of Hulu, buying out Comcast's last one-third stake in a deal that valued Hulu at more than $27 billion. Disney Plus and Hulu together now reach well over 180 million accounts, and Disney has started talking about a single combined app that mixes Disney Plus, Hulu, and live sports from ESPN into one place. Meanwhile, old school TV is trying to survive by teaming up with the very streamers that pushed it into trouble. Big cable companies like Charter and Comcast now offer bundles where you get Disney Plus, Hulu, or other apps alongside your cable channels, all on the same bill. They are not fighting streaming anymore. They are trying to strap it onto the side of the old system just to keep people from leaving. Thanks for watching. Now check out the videos popping up on screen for more unbelievable stories.